Okay, I'm waiting for a connection here. Hang on, guys. I said I'm paused due to a poor connection, so I want to give you guys a chance to all catch up here. So hold on one second. My Instagram says pause due to poor connection. Reconnecting, it says. I'll tell you what, let me get out of that and start that over. How's that? Hold on, guys. Be patient with me. All right. No, still saying must be an Instagram problem, so we'll go ahead. Well, good morning. Good Wednesday morning. I'm here talking this morning because I am very, very excited because today we're back to a stage show. This is a show that we shot before pandemic, shelter in place, quarantine. All of these things were in our vocabulary. And I'll tell you why I'm excited about this. I think that it's really time that we do something from our past life. I just in watching the show, reviewing the show, seeing the energy of the studio, the stage, the audience, I found it really refreshing. I found it really invigorating. I found it exciting. So I think you guys will too. You know, there's something in television that we call category fatigue. And that's where you can cover something so much that that area, that content gets so saturated in coverage that just people get fatigued. It's like, look, I know it's a big deal. I know that is something we need to pay attention to. But, oh my gosh, I can't look at this anymore. I'm tired of listening to it. I'm tired of hearing about it. Somebody do something different. Talk about something different. I need a break from this. And really, we do need a break from it. We can get so pulled down into something that it starts to get depressing. It starts to get to be just overwhelming. And it's not about being in denial. It's not like you're going to forget what's going on. But we do need to be reminded that there is life after quarantine. There's life before this happened. There will be life after this happened. And it's good to be reminded of that. It's good to be reminded. I know when war was raging so much in the Middle East, in Iraq and Iran, and yes, I know there's still war going on in the Middle East. I know there are still lives being lost there. But at the peak of that, I read an article that Dr. Phil, the program was really, really popular there. And this reporter asked some of the families, why is that? And they said it's because it's the 1 hour of the day that we can get together as a family and focus on family things. It's not about war and bombs and limbs being blown off and somebody being shot and all that. We get to talk about things that are normal family pre-war. It takes us back to a time when we were focused on Billy and Susie and our marriage and all of that. And that's why we at Dr. Phil made the decision that we're going to spend the rest of May doing shows that we did before all of this started. And I'll give you an insight into television. There are certain months of the year that are really important to advertisers. And they ask us to, they say, hey, save some of your best shows for these particular months. And they're November and February and May. And it actually starts at the end of, April and then goes through May. And so that's what we do. And we've got some of our best shows, and we're putting those on right now. And I'll tell you about what today's is here in a few minutes. But I wanted to talk about some of the questions that have come in today, and then we're going to get excited about talking about that show. The first question came in from Diane Conroy. She says, if the groceries are contaminated, why don't more grocery clerks get infected? They're around that stuff all day and new coming in every night and day. Well, Diane, I'm not exactly sure what you're saying. Groceries aren't contaminated. The packaging might have something on it that you would want to wipe down, but the groceries themselves are not contaminated. And grocery clerks do get infected. I have said before, I think grocery clerks, these people that are on the front lines in pharmacies, just general drugstore functions, grocery clerks, these are frontline essential workers just keeping the world running, and they're putting themselves in harm's way, and they are getting infected. They don't have the personal protective equipment that some of the hospital workers do. Hospital workers don't have enough either, but these folks are out there every day, so we get the essential things that we need, prescriptions filled, over-the-counter medications and stuff, groceries that we need to feed our family. They do get infected. The groceries, this is not a foodborne virus from what the infectious disease experts are telling us. So, and again, as I've said ad nauseum, I'm not an infectious disease expert. I'm not a molecular microbiologist, but I am talking to those that are. And this is not a foodborne virus. So your groceries are safe. You just need to be careful that you wear gloves when you're handling the packaging and that you get those items out of the packaging and into containers in your own home. You get rid of those gloves, you wash your hands, and make sure you don't carry things into the house. So they do get infected, and the groceries should be safe. Lisa Highweller says, any suggestions for therapist fatigue? My best friend is a very successful therapist and has mentioned she feels more exhausted after telehealth sessions. I'm sure she's not the only one. Thank you. Yes, that's what I said about us being kind of locked in on this. And, one of our family's companies is Doctor on Demand, which is one of, if not the biggest telemedicine company in the world. And we do mental health services there. And we do have teletherapists that do sessions with people. And our growth during all this is like 7,000%. So there is a huge demand for people that are doing their sessions on the internet, which is a great way to do it, by the way. You don't have to get dressed. You don't have to drive. You don't have to sit in a waiting room for a medical doctor or a psychologist or psychiatrist with people that could make you sick by coughing or sneezing in a waiting room. And the American Psychological Association has weighed in and said that it is a very effective way of doing therapy. But the therapists are hooked up to that computer screen all day. And, as I always say, and Robin always says, you have to take care of yourself so you can take care of others. And these therapists need to take those breaks. They need to get outside. They need to exercise. They need to focus on their own family. They need to de-stress themselves. You can't be a caregiver if you're not a care receiver. And so you've got to take care of yourself and unplug from taking care of others and go out and do those things that fill you back up. So I say to all of the caregivers, and especially you parents that are taking care of your children and all, you've got to carve out some time for yourself. I've said till I'm blue in the face, and some people have objected to me saying it loudly and clearly, that being in quarantine has its downside. Does it save lives by being in quarantine? Absolutely, no doubt, no question. And I've said from day one, minute one, Robin and I support the CDC guidelines. We have remained sheltering in place. We have remained compliant with social distancing, hand washing, doing everything we can to do our part in supporting this. And I support you doing that. But I've also said that when you're in quarantine, it has a toll of its own. And it's going to be a long-lasting toll. We have to pay attention to that because the mental health aspects of this, the depression, the anxiety, the stress, the PTSD, the depression, all of those things take a big toll on us, and this will last for some time to come, and we need to acknowledge that. Being in quarantine saves lives, but it is not free. It has a price. It comes at a toll as well. Lives are lost by being in quarantine. Jobs are lost. Businesses are lost. That creates stress, and people get depressed. They can take their own lives. They can get depressed. It erodes their health. It causes physical breakdown. So it's not without a cost, and so we need to acknowledge that, which is why I think we need to get back out there safely, step by step, as soon as we can safely do so. I don't think we should throw the doors open and all run back out to a Dodger game or a Yankee game like nothing ever happened. That would be very, very bad. We need to listen to the scientists and do this in a stepwise fashion, but the sooner we can get into our lives, the better off we're going to be. Mary Beth Sinetti says, Dr. Phil, any advice for child care workers? How do I protect myself since children under 2 can't wear masks? Well, look, that is difficult, and you're in one of those areas that, quite frankly, children are little petri dishes, right? And many of the children, the experts are telling me, the experts that we've had on the show, and we've had, 10, 12 experts on the show that have really weighed in on this, and they're telling me that a lot of the children are asymptomatic. So you may be around children that just don't show any symptoms, but may in fact be shedding the virus. They may be contagious. All I can tell you is, you can wear a mask. You can be as careful as you can about distancing, which is hard with little children because, they want to come and climb on you like a jungle gym. You have to wash your hands as carefully as possible. You can do all the things that you can do. And, try to avoid, face to face with the children, because the fact is, the experts tell me the way this disease is transmitted, that it's a respiratory disease, and that droplets from the respiratory system getting into your respiratory system is what causes the infection. It's not sweating and rubbing up against somebody. Their sweat on your arm is not going to infect you. It's respiratory droplets into your respiratory system. Now, this is what the experts are telling me. So if you can avoid that, so you don't inhale those droplets, you can increase your chances of being safe. That's why the social distancing is a big part of this, so we're not breathing in the droplets from someone that's infected. Sue White Hills, can animals get COVID, or can animals give us COVID? I'm being cautious because I have animals. This has been a moving target, and the CDC originally said no, and now they're starting to change that. If your animal has been in isolation, then they're probably as safe as you are. But if they've been around other people that haven't been in isolation, that's a different situation. So there have been reported cases in the last week of animals being diagnosed with COVID-19. Some cats and some dogs have been diagnosed with COVID-19. Now, it's been rare, and I don't think they've documented a case of someone contracting COVID-19 from a cat or a dog. But then they may have. I mean, because I say this is a moving target. I've not seen that, but the experts that I'm debriefing are telling me that there have been a few cases of animals being diagnosed with COVID-19. It's very rare, but they have been diagnosed with it. Pamela Refugio, question: when going for my walks, do I need to wear a mask or not? Well, look, your state, your governor, your mayor has probably weighed in on this and suggested one way or the other. I think most of the communities have said, when you're out, wear a mask. Now, Robin and I live kind of out. We're in Beverly Hills, but we're kind of out. And it's sort of rural, actually. And we can walk a couple of miles and not see anybody. Do we need a mask on our face? No, of course, commonsensically we don't. But let's say we turn a corner and somebody's walking up on us. If we've got a mask around our neck and somebody walks up where we can pull it up, then we're good. So I think you have to use common sense here. If you have a mask and it's down around your neck and you're walking or jogging and you see somebody coming, then you can pull your mask up, because you don't know if somebody's going to come walking up to you or not. Hopefully they're going to have sense enough not to do that, but I've seen it happen. People just forget and they just come walking right up on you. Well, pull your mask up over your face. But I think you should have a mask with you when you go out. I think it should be around your neck, if not on your face. Now, obviously, if there's nobody within a mile of you, what's the point? None. But if you've got it, in case you turn a corner and somebody's there, you've got it. So, be commonsensical about that. And guys, I have to tell you, I've been one of those people that have said from way early on that I didn't think that this was going to be 1 million people dead, 200,000, 250,000 people tragically lost to this. And that's true so far. And let me tell you why. It's not because I think they overestimated how contagious this disease is. I think they got that pretty spot on right. What they didn't take into account is how committed and strong-willed Americans can be. You guys have done a great job of sheltering in place, maintaining social distancing. It's you that have stopped this at the levels that it stopped. Now, there have been over 50,000 people have lost their lives. I saw a headline yesterday that said there's been more people killed than in the Vietnam War. I haven't checked that stat. I don't know that, but I read that. A lot of lives have been lost. And any lives lost is tragic, of course. But let me tell you, Americans have done a damn good job of stepping up to the challenge and doing what was necessary to contain this. So give yourself credit. This may be driving you just, where you want to walk up the wall. But this is going to change soon. And I think we're going to change it responsibly. And I hope we're going to do a good job. I did a podcast about this that I posted on Tuesday on Fill in the Blanks. And I addressed the question that people are asking me, Dr. Phil, do you think we're going to get back to normal? And I said, I think that's the wrong question. It's not about, are we going to get back to normal? The question should be, how are we going to move forward? Because getting back to normal, I don't know that that's going to happen, that we're going to get back to what was normal. The question needs to be, how are we going to move forward in a productive way? How are we going to find fulfillment and safety and health and joy moving forward? We are a very innovative, creative society. We always come up with things. I'm talking to you right now on Facebook, YouTube, and sort of Instagram because it keeps clicking out. But look at this technology here that we have. Come on, this is a big deal. We found ways to do this. When they um, when they said we couldn't do these shows anymore because we had to get out of the studio, um, I mean, come on, we figured out a way to do it. Americans are ingenious. We come up with ways to do this stuff. We're going to come up with a way to handle this. We need to think about how are we going to move forward? How am I going to get back into my life, my job, my kids playing soccer and baseball and football and being in choir and going back to church and finding a way to worship and doing all the things that we do. How are we going to move forward? Be creative. Those are the things we need to do. So that's what to focus on. And I just thought it was a great time to do some shows about life that we're wanting to aspire to. We're wanting to aspire to lives that make us happy and bring us joy. And you guys have made Dr. Phil, I'm not talking about myself in the third person, I'm talking about Dr. Phil, the program. You've made me number one for a long time because you value the content that we do. And I thought it's time to get back to that content. You know where I stand on COVID-19 and coronavirus. I've said it. I've said pay attention to the mental aspects of it. You've heard me. I've said it, said it, I've said it, I've said it. I may still say it some more on these morning sessions, but I thought it was time to get back to a reminder of what's ahead. Life is exciting and it's vibrant and it's alive. And today's show is called Tara's Troubles. This is one of the shows that we shot and we thought was so good, so relatable, that we saved it for this period before we knew all this was going to happen. It's called Tara's Troubles. And Tara's 46. And she says for 20 years, she's been married to a sociopathic, narcissistic, manipulating husband, Mike. And they're in their 40s, and they have a 20-year-old son. Tara has a 20-year-old son from a previous marriage and 2 children with her husband, Mike. And they're all caught in the middle of this drama. Now, Tara says she's an empath. And you can look that up, or I can just tell you an empath is someone that says they can feel what the other person feels. They can relate at a whole different level to what the other person feels. They can just like look at you, connect with you, and know what you're thinking, feeling, and experiencing. And it's not just about being intuitive. It's really about being kind of sixth sense wise. In fact, she says that she can do that so much that she's brought some family pets back to life. They had a goldfish that was dead, and she was able to get it out of the tank with her child and connect with it and bring it back to life. And she had a turtle that had died, and she was able to connect with the turtle and bring it back to life. And she 100% believes this. Now, I don't know if the goldfish was like asleep, or, you know, turtles sometimes can be pretty dull. Maybe the turtle was just sitting there for a long time and finally like decided to wake up and walk away. I don't know how she determined if these were dead or not, but she says she brought them back to life. But she says that her husband Mike has filmed her over 500 times while she's upset in attempts to make her look crazy. That's his term, not mine. And he says these outbursts are not healthy for her family. You will see some of these outbursts. Let me tell you why we show these things. People live with this stuff every day, and they try to decide, is this normal upset that I'm living with, or has this really gone beyond the pale? Is this something that I need help with this? Because I think sometimes people live with something so long they get to thinking, yeah, this is just the way it is. Well, no, it's not the way it is. It's not the way it should be. And what she's doing is not the way it should be. And if he's suggested this, if these kids are saying this is the way people live, well, it's not the way people live. It's not the way people should live. So we're pointing that out, and I think you're going to find this a very, very interesting, a very interesting story. So tune in today. Call your friends and tell them today we're getting to some Dr. Phil at its best. This isn't COVID-19. You're going to have a break from it. And look, I know we're getting preempted some because, let's face it, we're in an election year. And so there's a lot of mayors and a lot of governors that are coming up for election, and holding press conferences are important sometimes, and sometimes it's just an opportunity to be in front of the people and say what they said yesterday. I don't know. But there's sure a lot of press conferences, and I'm in a prime hour. So I'm getting preempted a lot. Usually it's part of the time, so check back in. Sometimes it's 10 minutes, sometimes it's 30 minutes, sometimes it's the beginning, sometimes it's the end. But check back in because you'll be able to get most of the show, I think, most of the time. I certainly hope that you will. So, hang with me. We're going to get through this together. And I'm very optimistic. I really am. I even put on a red shirt today. I'm that optimistic. So hang in. Have a good time. I'll be talking to you later this week. In fact, I'm going to be back tomorrow. This is Wednesday. I'll be back tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. Hopefully, Instagram will be working. I know it keeps flashing at me that it's not here, so I'm sorry if you've been frustrated on Instagram. But that's it. Watch today's show. Send me some more questions. I'll answer them, and we'll see you tomorrow. We're getting ready to turn this thing around, so hang in there. I believe in you, and we're going to get this done. Thanks a lot.